Oh, Jesus! Ladies and gentlemen, it's Netflix Drive to Survive, episode 2 of season 3. Oh, lads and ladies, I love, you know what? Motor racing never ends. I love covering all the 2024 season, but not only that, I love when Netflix comes around, man. It's so much fun. It's so much fun breaking them down. And not only that, I've seen these episodes I think 3 times, but I'm actually really enjoying breaking them down as best as I can to hopefully give you the behind the scenes information, guys, on the accuracy of Drive to Survive. And you know what I love about Drive to Survive? It's getting more popular as we go. Every year it's getting bigger and bigger numbers. And you know, I can see it now why. It's like, oh my God, the drama's really uplifting, uprising. It's incredible. So let's get into it. This is season 3, episode 2 of Formula One Netflix Drive to Survive.
Walsh running the Irish green, and look at the move he's making down to the inside.
Moves to the front. What a move from 5th all the way to the lead in lap 1.
Walsh takes win number 2.
Peter. Walsh. Here we go, guys. So we start off with the intro. And many people now, this is the 2020 season we're looking at here, and it was a hell of a season. I think we can all relate to this to some degree. This was the start of coronavirus, of course, and excuse me, guys. And the season did take a turn because they were in Australia, as if anybody's seen my last episode breaking it down, and of course on Drive to Survive, they had to cancel the Australian Grand Prix. Absolute total nightmare. And it's just the way it was. They all had to pack their bags, go home, close up the factories, the headquarters, and etc. It was a nightmare. But what I really want to just emphasize here and highlight of this is that I've been going on now about the business side, and sometimes there's the ugly side of the business side of Formula One. Okay, sometimes it goes hand in hand with each other, sometimes it doesn't. But the business side there's a lot of pressure on the team bosses. There really is. And we look at this one here now at the start, and they go straight into the interviews about the coronavirus, and they're all on remote interviews. They're all sitting at home. You can see Christian Horner. You can see there's stress in his face. You can see Claire Williams, Toto Wolff. They're all having a chat, and it's tough, man. And they're even saying here, I'm looking at my notes, guys, like, this is not some arrive and drive when you just show up at a race weekend. This is serious business in terms of right at the start, they're literally seeing Christian Horner on the camera, and Christian Horner is saying, we need to get back to racing. We need to survive. And he's saying, not just my team, guys, but all the teams. We're struggling. You know, these guys, they need to pay the bills, keep the lights on here, right? Employees have got wives and kids at home. Some of the employees have got husbands and kids at home. You know, you're dealing with people's livelihoods. And like I'm saying, it's not just you show up on a race weekend and, oh, hey man, you know, amazing. This is great fun. No, they need to keep the lights on. So in other words, when coronavirus hit, people were sitting at home. There's chances sponsors are pulling out, or maybe they've got a deal with the Formula One team where they're saying, okay, look, Christian, let's say it's Red Bull, okay? I'm just giving an example. I don't know this for a fact, all right? But this can easily happen. A Red Bull now type of sponsor can come around and say, look, Christian, I'm sorry, look, we can't keep paying out wages or money for you guys right now if the season isn't going ahead and we're not getting exposure on TV. We can't do it. Our shareholders are not interested. They don't want it. They feel that we can't afford to do it either, or both. And Christian Horner then is in a fucking corner here. This is huge for these guys. I mean, the stress levels must have been enormous for these guys. And that's what can happen, guys. You can lose sponsorship. You can lose investors because they might have, let's say, you could have a sponsor now sponsoring your car for the year, and they could be paying you in installments. So in other words, we'll throw out another example. Let's say they're giving 10 million to a team in a year. Now, it doesn't mean that the team is getting the whole 10 million at one go. It could mean that they're doing it over quarterly, thirdly sections of the year. So in other words, it could be, right, Christian, we'll give you 2.5 million there. There you go. Okay, when we get to round 5, here's your next 2.5. And then round 9, and so and so and so and so. Now, of course, the seasons are longer now, so those payments could be even stretched out thinner, because there's 24 races this year. So therefore, it could be a real stretch to get the money out. Therefore, if they've missed 2 months or 3 months of the year, which they did have here, with 10 weeks, 2.5 months of sitting at home, everybody around the world basically, well then you can be screwed. There could be sponsors, all of a sudden, no, we're not going to pay you guys, I'm sorry. And then the team's under huge stress, and then all of a sudden the team are actually scrambling to wonder, oh my God, can we get a different sponsor that'll pay us more maybe? Or will they cover our basis? But then why would somebody else come in? Because, well, there's no point, right? Because there's no television exposure for them. And then, of course, you've got a contract. So what do? Do you have to just write it out? Of course, we don't know all the ins and outs, guys, here. Not even the Sky Sports commentators, TV presenters, Martin Brundle, Jensen Button, Nico Rosberg, David Croft. Not even these guys would have an idea of the contracts. Now, maybe there might be a little talk behind the scenes when they're walking around the pit lane, and, Martin Brundle knows a guy from back in the day, and he says, hey, what's going on, man? And one of the guys might tell him, but Chris, you never know. And even some of the mechanics and engineers aren't going to know this information. And why would you tell them? Why would you bother telling them? You don't want word getting out, people talking around the pit lane. So a lot of these things will be under wraps, highly confidential, even to the team, the internal team. So, okay, let's flash on. Then we flash on over to Zach Brown. And again, we're still in coronavirus. And guys, I think we can all remember how creepy this was back in the day, and especially in 2022, the first lockdown. I mean, we see Zach Brown now, the McLaren boss. He's in the McLaren headquarters. There's no one except himself, as far as I saw on camera there, unless I missed something, but there is literally no one except for him and the Netflix crew that are obviously filming him, but no other employees, no one. I mean, I think we've all been there in that situation. I even remember walking around Cork City one night when it was first lockdown, when we were just allowed out, and my God, it was an eerie feeling, wasn't it? So creepy. And then they're talking about, like, Zach Brown is on the phone then to, we don't know, or maybe I missed that, but we don't know, but he's on about, okay, well, guys, can we get 15 races in this year? Now, they should be up to 18, 19, 20 races, whatever it is, 17 races, right? But they've missed out on some races here. Now, some people might be thinking, well, why don't they just take the year off? Just relax, take it easy, don't worry about it. But again, this is exactly why this question will come up, because again, it's just like we spoke about. They need to keep things going. It's not just arrive and drive, social karting where you go up with your friends and out for a half an hour drive. This is a lot of planning in the making. You got to keep the bills going, or keep the bills paid, everything going, and it's tough, man. It's tough, but I'm really glad that they did put that in, because like most of you know, guys, I've spoken about this business side of Formula One, and really that did put the teams to a test, coronavirus. Okay, let's move on. So Horner then, this is a good one here, and this is so true. And you know what? Maybe a lot of people can relate to this one here. And what I mean in terms of things always pass. And Christian Horner, he's on as an interview, and he says, look, as Red Bull and Christian, he says, look, we won the Formula One World Championships 4 years in a row. Then Mercedes, they dominated, they took over from us, they took the crown, the throne, and then they won 6 years in a row. Now, Christian's like, well, it's obviously they've done an amazing job, but it's eventually going to end. And it always does, guys. It always does in Formula One. There's never a team that is always, ever ruling forever. Just doesn't happen. McLaren have been dominant. Ferrari, Mercedes, Red Bull. I mean, it's just the list. Williams. The list goes on and on and on. And eventually, somebody finds something, a new floor, a new wing, and it just ignites their car on fire. And it's great. And why I'm saying maybe we can all relate to that. I mean, if you're going through some dark times, I've gone through some dark times, and you have some good moments. They pass, and then you have some dark moments, then you got some dark moments. Eventually, they goddamn pass too. And eventually you got some good times too. So, I really liked when Christian Horner brought that up, but it's amazing the way sport, Formula One, all this is life in many ways. We can all relate to this. It can be in whether you're a pizza boy for a pizza company, whether you're a Formula One boss, whether you're a whatever, it doesn't matter. We can all have bad times and good times. And it was great. It was just, it was nice to see that. It was nice to see that. So let's move on. Qualifying. Now this is a big talking point. Now, the qualifying is like, no guys, I'm sorry. You know what? We're not going to go into qualifying yet. Fuck it. We'll just edit there. All right. About 11:20. So 11:50. Okay, let's move it on. So, Christian Horner then speaks about Max. This program, our episode, was very focused in on Christian, this one. And Christian says that Max has the magic dust. And we want him to be the youngest champion in Formula One. Well, give me a basketball. Let me dunk it in the net, baby, because fucking boom! Touchdown, don't want to see you anymore. Elvis has left the building. The fat lady has sung, ladies and gentlemen. You know why? Because how many times have I said this before? Red Bull want the young world champion. They had Vettel at the same time. Then they brought in even the younger guy. And I've said this on countless times on Netflix and other podcasts I've done for reviewing and highlighting the Formula One actual races. I've said this, that they're putting a lot of attention into Max Verstappen because he's the younger guy than Vettel. If we get him to the Formula One, the youngest ever, it looks great for sponsors and investors. I've been saying this all along. Now, by the way, I didn't pick this up from Netflix. Hand to God, by the way, and I'm staring in the camera here, okay? I remember that one of my buddies that I remember, and he said to me, he was involved in the drifting world, and he knows kind of sometimes the drifting world and the racing world can actually cross over every now and then. But he told me, he said, look, man, they're really focusing in on the young driver, the young world champion. And even I said, oh, really? And I said, okay, that makes sense. So I didn't know that. He told me. And then I went, huh. And then I looked at it. Then you've got Sebastian Vettel, who was the youngest ever. Then all of a sudden you're like, oh, so they did that with Vettel, didn't they? And then all of a sudden they bring in Max Verstappen, who was 17. You're like, hang on, guys, this doesn't make sense. There's rarely a young driver that young at 17 that goes straight to Formula One, guys. Seriously, that's unheard of. That's like having your baby infant going into bloody first year. What is it in America again? High school, right? When they're not even out of their nappies. I mean, it's a huge jump. And it almost doesn't make sense. It almost doesn't make sense. But there you go. That's what it is. They want the young driver, the youngest world champion in Formula One history. Christian Horner even said it out of his mouth. So, and by the way, if this is your first time listening, I'm a Max Verstappen fan. I'm always go Max. Okay? I'm delighted when the guy wins. Delighted. So this isn't me having a bone. I'm just giving you the reality of the situation. Okay? And it shouldn't take anything away from racing. Not at all. I'm just giving you the way it goes. But this is why we love Drive to Survive. And I'm telling you, if we didn't have this political business side of Formula 1, Formula 1 Drive to Survive would be a very, very, very boring program. That's for goddamn sure. So, let's move it on. Next, Claire Williams. Now, Claire Williams, she's just giving a quick statement and then they go off camera again from her. But I love the way she said that when they're getting to Austria now, and it's their first round of the 2020 season after so many delays, races cancelled, this and that, etc. And then they're talking about how rusty will the drivers be? Will they be rusty? How long will it take them to get up to speed? She just turns around, she says they should be able to switch it on again straight away. And she's dead right. Like, these guys were training in the winter time. You know, they should be on the ball instantly. I mean, it should really, giving, like, whether you're in karting, guys, or all the way up to Formula 1, it doesn't matter. You should be able to switch it on within 10 laps. Now, maybe it might take you 20 laps because the team have asked you, hey, Peter, listen, just go easy for 10 laps. So then you're not pushing it. But at least in those 10 laps, you're actually just getting the rust off. So it's almost like ticking 2 boxes with 1 here, which is always great. But again, you know, for a racing driver to be on it, you call it, you need to be on it within 10 laps or you're done. And they should be on it within 10 laps. If they've been lazy with their training, which it doesn't look like any of them were, in fairness, well then, if they were lazy and they were out of shape, then it's going to take you a hell of a lot longer. But fitness is a big part of it, man. Big part of it. Okay, now here we get into the real juicy bits of this oh dear God episode. Now, at the A1 ring, some of the teams noticed that the Mercedes car, they're zooming in on Hamilton on board, and they noticed that as Hamilton's going down the straight, the steering wheel is moving towards him. Now let me just say that one more time. There's nothing wrong with his steering. As he's actually going down the straight, on purpose, his steering wheel starts to move and it starts to go in his direction towards him. It probably moves about, what, 1, maybe 1.5 inches. In fact, that's probably a lot. That's probably too much because that would possibly put the driver off. Probably wouldn't, but still, it wouldn't be a huge movement. But you do see the steering wheel move towards him. Then there's the opposite direction. It actually goes away from him. So what I was zooming in on there, guys, it's called the DAS, D-A-S. So when the steering wheel was pulling away from him and the tires on the front were going in. They were pointing in. So if you imagine, guys, if you're sitting in the Formula 1 car, you're looking at the front wheels. And on the front part of the wheel, okay, so imagine you see the 2 wheels either side of you. Then you've got one side that's closer to you than the opposite side. The opposite side, they were pointing in. That was like, it's like almost toe in on a car. You're shaping the wheels to go in on this stage, right? Then, that was on a straight. When they were going into corners, the wheels were pointing out. Now, that blew me away when I did first see that a few years ago. I was like, whoa, okay, this is something to do with steering in some way, many way, shapes, or form here. But what I think it was, and even we go to the, let's see, I think we've got Christian Horner and Adrian Newey, right? As many of you have seen in Netflix Drive to Survive, they'll always have these conversations, but you never see them. In other words, you'll have the team owner or whoever, they go into a room next door. Netflix are recording this, and Netflix show you they're closing the door, but you're not in the room, but they still have their mics on. And obviously Netflix picked this up. God love you, Mike. God bless you, Netflix. Brilliant. And I think it did sound like Adrian Newey was in with Christian Horner. So Christian Horner's like, hey man, what is this thing they have? What is this DAS thing, this moving steering wheel? What the hell? He's freaking out at this stage. And if it was Adrian Newey, again, it mightn't have been, but either way, the person says back to him, actually, I don't think it is trying to give them more grip. I think what it's trying to do here is actually warm the tires up. Now, listen, if that was Adrian Newey saying that, well then, hey, okay, I'm going to put all my money that Adrian Newey's probably right here. Now, then again, there was a chance that he was wrong. Maybe it actually did not even help with grip. Maybe it did actually take away grip. Because as they were going into a corner, now again, by the way, this is if Adrian Newey is wrong, okay? I would be betting any day of the week, twice on Sundays, that the guy was right. If it was Adrian Newey, and if he, okay, and he knows what he's on about. The guy bloody knows what he's talking about. So I wouldn't be going against him. But let's say he was, because my first thought as a driver was that if you're going into a corner and the tires start to point out, that would normally mean that you're getting too much grip either in the back of the car or just the general balance of the car. So you've got to lose grip in the front, excuse me, and free up the car. So when you go into a corner, let's say, guys, imagine if you're driving a car on the road and you go into a right-hand corner really fast. Now, did you ever notice that if you go in really fast that your body starts to go to the left, right? You go the opposite way of where you're going. Now, obviously that's G-force, but still, there's load on the car. Now, what happens here is when there's a load loading up on the wheel, the tires are pointing either in or out. Now, if there's toe in on the car, that means the opposite end of the tire is pointing in. Therefore, when you do start loading up those tires, the natural progression is the tires and the force are naturally pushed out, if you get me. Okay, because it's just natural G-force and force of the car pushing with each other and pushing it all outwards. So if you go more inwards, if you actually set the car up for toe in, it will lessen that outward motion, therefore keeping it like on a train track. All right? Imagine this. It would be like going on a train track on a rail, and once you're going around a corner, you can see that the railway line is fixed in position, okay? Now, when a train will come around, there's going to be that natural little give where the train line is going to ever so slightly move. Now, it could be 1 bloody millimeter, it could be less, it could be a bit more, but there's always going to be that natural force from the train going around that track. So therefore you can, let's say, if toe in is tightening up the rail line, well then there'll be less give. I hope I'm making sense, guys. You know, I really should try and get into some graphics, and I am working on some, but yeah, it's bloody hard to get the exact one I want, but anyway, it's coming. So that was my theory on it. Now again, if it was Adrian Newey talking, well then I'm going to put my hat down that maybe it was to just warm up the tires. But it was definitely very, very interesting. And it's definitely giving you an advantage. If Adrian Newey is correct, that means that yes, the tires are warming up faster, and therefore you can get on the pace quicker, which is great. So it will get to your your tire temperature best. So let's say, guys, I'll give you an example. Let's say the tire temperatures need to be 100 degrees, all right? The tires work at 100 degrees best, all right? This is just a rough example. But to get to the 100 degrees, because you've got those tire warmers in the pit lane, and as you can see, they've got those little plastic or kind of plasticky looking sheet things that go around all the tires. Then the moment they leave the pit lane, you see the mechanics at the last second start whipping them off. That's because they're trying to keep on those tire warmers on as long as possible to keep the heat in the tires. Problem is, once the car hits tarmac, you actually naturally do lose a bit of temperature, because now you need the real temperature to kick in, and just the way our atmosphere is, naturally it's going to overtake the heat. Now it definitely does help, but the temperature will drop from, I don't know, let's say 90 in the tire warmers to whatever it is, 85. I can't even remember, I'll be honest with you. And then it'll go back up once you get natural heat and the atmospheric pressure getting into the car. So that's the thing with that. And you know, it's good to see that they were using this new DAS system, because that would allow you on a warm-up lap to actually get the tires warmed up faster, a lot faster. Therefore, you could be at, again, let's say 100 by the time you start your warming up lap, or your quick lap, and off you go, because you still might have a little drop in temperature before you start your starting lap, which could, again, you could lose maybe a tenth, 2/10, maybe even more, right? And that could be the end of it. So genius, absolute feature. But yeah, let's see this now, right? And we'll go on with this. Now, you can see Christian Horner is obviously having a freak out about this. And he's even going up to Christian, and Toto are walking into, I think, a briefing room or the appeals room. And Christian even turns to him. I gotta admit, I like the way Christian Horner just says it straight out. No offense, Toto, but we're gonna protest you. And Toto actually, you know what? I love the way the two of them go at each other. It's straight up. There's no crap from them. You know? I'm in your face, my man. I'm complaining you, even though we'll get to the rest of that now in a second. But Toto's actually delighted. He's like, yeah, well, yeah, it's good, isn't it? It's really good, isn't it? Yeah. And he's so happy that Christian Horner is actually complaining. And do you know what it is? He just likes to see Christian Horner run around moaning and bitching, though. That's what it is. But at the same time, I give that to Christian Horner. He is at least straight in your face about it. There's no messing around with him. And then the protesting, as always. I mean, can Christian Horner and all the Formula 1 teams just stop what they're doing? Like, guys, I've just previewed season 3 of Drive to Survive, season 3 episode 1 there just last Friday, and now we're doing episode 2. So like, this is just the previous episode. We see Racing Point get into a spot of bother. Everybody's protesting. Instead of just Christian Horner, all the grid are protesting Racing Point. And we were only at goddamn pre-season testing. There wasn't any medal, champagne, cup, silverware up for grabs here, and yet they're all bitching and moaning. I'm telling you, it's a toxic. It's a bit of a toxic environment, which I don't like to see, because the very moment someone has something, it's instantly protest. Instantly protest. Now, okay, I can understand where they'd be saying, is that legal? Right? And you could understand where Christian Horner might say to the FIA guys, guys, look, I don't want to be a bitch about this, but can you just, when you can you just check out to see if that Mercedes is all going well? Now, guys, we have to remember here, there's also a scrutiny where the cars gets checked for safety beforehand, and there's certain diameters and length, width, this and that, and they all got to be checked. And there's a lot of stuff that they do check to make sure that there's no breaking laws here. So, I can understand that eventually, if somebody's kicking ass, that you want to get that checked. But we didn't even start the race, and let's not forget the pre-season testing. We're not even at a race, and they're all protesting that car is too great. Like, everybody's just jumping on the protest. In my day, even well before my day, there wouldn't have been much of this. There is, yes, some protesting here and there. Of course there is. But Formula 1 has just taken it to a new level, man. Like, one person goes out and practice 2 on a weekend, a race weekend, and oh, he's going too quick. Protest. You know, and they're filing the paperwork. They're doing this, they're doing that. Like, Jesus Christ. Maybe you could say to the FIA against, look, guys, can you just keep an eye on that car? We're not putting up an official protest. Just keep an eye on it, guys. You know, like, you know. And my real point here, guys, is, you know what? Stop your fucking bitching and moaning and just get on with your own car. Work and focus on yourself. Never mind someone else's car. Yes, keep an eye on it, but you know what I mean? Like, they're putting too much effort and energy into protesting the next guy. It's straight to court. You know? Guilty, Your Honor. Are you sure, Christian? Well, I don't know about that, but, you know, I want you to check it. Yeah. It's honestly, it's crazy. Crazy how much bitching and moaning they do. And it's not a good environment, guys. This wasn't around back in my day, and for some reason, Formula 1 has turned into this protesting every 4 minutes. Now, look, I can't argue here either. Of course, what do we see? Netflix Drive to Survive. This is what makes it so good. But let's go on to the next point, and I'm not finished with this last protesting here. The last thing. In qualifying, there's a possible overtaking on a yellow flag. Now, apparently, guys, well, sorry, not apparently. In qualifying, and in certain moments of racing or qualifying, for every motor racing level here, you've got to make sure that if there's a yellow flag out, there's no overtaking. Then some guy goes off on the gravel trap, and then I think Hamilton goes past, and there was a flashing yellow light. Now, in Hamilton's defense here, it was probably too goddamn late for Hamilton to see the yellow flag because it was so late when that yellow flag came out. And then he went through. But no. Guess who's up again? Christian Horner! He's up again protesting. And he's going through the footage. He's analysing this. He's analysing that. And let me tell you, guys, let me bloody tell you, as a racing driver, with all his bitching and moaning about the DAS, the steering wheel, and now a yellow flag, all in one fucking weekend, I'm telling you, I'm embarrassed. All I see is all I'm seeing, and I'm playing the psychological game here, I'm seeing my team owner running around worried, anxious, panicking, and confused and wondering what the hell's going on and stressed over some other team. And that's why we see Toto Wolff smiling his ass off, because he knows he's got Christian wound the hell up. Christian Horner's not doing himself any favors here. Now, in the short term here, what happens for the race? Of course, yes, he does win this little tiny battle. Hamilton gets a 5-second drop penalty. Crazy. I thought that was insane. Absolutely insane. But look, he got it. But still, it's not going to win you the war, man. These little tiny little bitching and moaning little tea parties you're having here. And then we go over to, let's have a look. It's the rest of my notes. Oh, and then of course Christian comes on the TV to justify himself, because he knows he's running around. He knows he's got Netflix watching his every goddamn move for this weekend. He knows, like, oh god, I better explain this. And Christian just says, oh look, you know, we have to look at everything. Like, whether, you know, you got to do it in the sport. You have to do everything to make sure that no one's getting an unfair advantage. No. Actually, this is about you trying to weasel your way through, and sometimes he can be right, guys. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that he shouldn't be doing this. He's just doing it too much and too fucking quick. He's literally like that guy in a quiz show. He's got the fucking hand over the red buzzer, and yet the question hasn't even finished, and he's like, shit, I don't know. You know what I mean? He's too fucking fast on the buzzer. And it's ridiculous. And this is why you see Toto Wolff with a big fucking smile on his face. A big smile on his face. So, no. And he's justifying it. That's even worse. You know? If he just literally turned around and said, look, I know. But you know what, look guys, I'm under pressure. I need to deliver results. I've got to do it, and I'm going to keep doing it. If he said that, you'd have more respect for the guy. But anyway, he doesn't. And here's the other part, guys. We're going to go one, and I'm finished this whole thing in 2 seconds. My last point about all this protesting, straight to court. If you've seen the Drive to Survive Netflix, we're going fast forwarding now a couple of seasons here. And this is where Christian Horner is dominating, and Toto Wolff is very unhappy about something. And Toto Wolff is actually acting a bit like a baby here. But Christian turns around like the big man. Well, listen, Toto, if you're not happy, change your fucking car. So he's trying to tell Toto Wolff, you should focus in on your car and stop your bitching and moaning. But yet, look at what Christian Horner is doing. Toys out of the cot, man. Toys out of the cot. It's pathetic. It's pathetic. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. And, you know... No, you know what? We're going to leave it there. I'm going on about that too much. I'm sick of talking about it, I have to say. Sick of it. So, yeah, and then, you know, then we look at the race itself, guys. So, Max, he's got engine problems for Red Bull. Hamilton... Hamilton, he's trying to get back up into the lead. Now then, before we finish it off here, guys, and we're nearly done here, if we look at Albon and Hamilton incident here in Austria, now people go, oh well, who was right there, who was wrong, or did Hamilton knock Albon off? Does he really have a bad problem with this guy Albon? No, he doesn't. Alex Albon was in the wrong. He was in the wrong. And I'll tell you why. Albon went on the outside. That's number one. Okay? He went on the outside. Going on the outside with a move like that is risky. So, hey buddy, you know what? If you're gonna fuck around on the outside, if you get knocked off, yeah, the guy can give you room. But Albon... you can also give somebody room on the outside too. Now, Albon didn't go for like, it's this or I end my life. It wasn't put my life in my hands here for this one. No, it wasn't. But Albon was on the outside, and you can see, then we flash into Hamilton's onboard camera, and you can see Hamilton has the steering wheel turned to the right. He doesn't go back 180 and start turning it to the left, steering into Albon. No, he doesn't. Now, there's a little trick here too with racing drivers where you know that the guy's coming up on your outside and you know that Hamilton needs to turn a little bit more to just get around the corner, but actually he doesn't bother, because if I just leave the steering wheel here just where it is, Albon will go off and it won't look like I've done anything. We can do this type of thing, and plenty of drivers have done this. Now, I'm going to be fair and say, Alex Albon, you took a risk going on the outside. Yes, Hamilton, actually, I don't think he actually saw you, because he did kind of come out of nowhere here. Albon, right? And look, fine, fair enough, go for the move. But I really, no, I honestly do not think for not even 1% this was Hamilton's fault. Guys, if you know me, I'm not even a Hamilton fan. And I'm standing up for a guy here. No, definitely not. And, you know, you play with fire, you're going to get burnt. And Hamilton could have tried to knock him off. He could have tried to knock him off better, believe you me. There's a lot easier ways to do it than the way he did it. Hamilton, and I'll leave it at this, Hamilton is not a dirty driver. I have never seen Hamilton do a sneaky bastard move ever. Now, maybe I'm insanely wrong, but of all the footage I've seen of Lewis Hamilton, I've never seen him do anything dodgy. If anything, he's not actually aggressive enough, because he lets people overtake. Even Max and Abu Dhabi, right? Remember Max, as we all know, guys, on that famous last lap where Max overtakes him, he didn't even block the line on the inside. He just let him come up in the inside. He should have been on the inside line and letting Max go on the outside. But he didn't. He just let Max go straight up the inside. Good luck to you, boy. So if anything, he's not aggressive enough. But hey, anyway. So yeah, just to finish that off, guys. It was a great episode. It was really cool, and I'm loving the way this is amping up now. I mean, geez, you know, I think normally my episodes here, I can see my timer here. Normally on the episodes, I'm at like what, 22 minutes up to 30 minutes. We're at 40 minutes for this one today, so it's great. It's cool. Great, a lot to talk about, and of course, it's going to amp up even more now, coming up in the next couple of episodes. Can't wait, guys. So we're leaving it at that, guys. That was Netflix. Formula 1, Drive to Survive, Season 3 and Episode 2, baby. See you next time, guys.
Walsh running the Irish green, and look at the move he's making down to the inside.
Moves to the front. What a move from fifth all the way to the lead in lap 1.
Walsh takes win number 2.
Peter. Walsh.